going on, everybody? Topecon, hello and welcome. It is episode 104, second to the last episode of this second season, and it officially WrestleMania, the biggest week in all of professional wrestling, even sports entertainment. I want to include that as well. DC People Shab here in the People's Studios in Reston, Virginia. I am also joined, as always, by my tag team partner from the basement himself, Sith. Sith, first off, nice haircut, my man. How are you?
Thank you, my good man. Went out with the girlfriend earlier. She saw the haircut. She loved it. I sent, Champ and Donnie, the haircut and everything. Looks great. Thanks a lot for the compliment, bro. I'm doing great. Beautiful. Dude, it's so fucking cold outside. I mean, here we are. We're WrestleMania week. It starts officially with us with New Japan stuff tomorrow, and it goes through an entire week. And all I'm thinking is, let's get this last freeze out of the way. WrestleMania's coming.
Yeah, it is. And it's a very exciting time, especially because remember, last year, the build to WrestleMania and the road to it was kind of derailed after the world was set on fire by the pandemic, which caused the WWE to go into behind the scenes into the performance center with no fans. And this will be the first event that the WWE will be putting on with fans in the stands since since March of last year. Was the last time that they had a actual show with people in the seats. So this will be a very unique experience for them after a year. AEW started bringing in fans late last year, around fall of last year, and have been pretty good with it. New Japan started doing it literally summer of last year. So um, clearly, after seeing what New Japan was able to do with only like a small percentage of people in the audience and keeping them socially distant, other wrestling promotions are able to see that and be like, okay, we can we can do this. We can do this safely. So we got a lot to cover here on this episode of the podcast. Again, like I said, it's WrestleMania week. We won't be giving our WrestleMania predictions and picks on this episode. That'll be next week. This isn't the second to last episode of the season. I made a mistake. That will be next week when we WrestleMania. The week after that will be the season finale, and then we'll be off for a week, and then we'll be back with season 3. So that's just a little something to give y'all right there. But we will be giving our predictions and a preview of NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver, which is a 2-night event taking place this coming Wednesday and Thursday. And I can't wait for that. It was also announced that on Wednesdays, night 1 of Stand and Deliver will be exclusively commercial free on Peacock. So another bit of incentive for people to start signing up for Peacock now so that you can watch Takeover Stand and Deliver commercial free on Peacock. It will be shown on the USA Network, but it will be with commercials as always. And then Thursday's night's night 2 will be exclusively on Peacock. So we're going to preview that. Also, we're going to talk about what happened this week. You know, what happened with Raw, with SmackDown, with all the AEW shows, all 3 AEW shows, Dark Elevation and Dynamite, what happened with Impact, what happened with NXT on their road to Stand and Deliver. It was the last show before Stand and Deliver. Sis got his NXT UK report, which includes the main event of this week's show was Pretty Deadly's first defense of the NXT UK Tag Team Championships and the shocking ending to that. We'll cover all of that this week. Sith, are you ready?
Well, as the old saying goes, from Celebrity Deathmatch, let's get it on.
We are going to get it on. We're going to start with our first news story here, and it has to do with the man who has gone back home on his psychopathic rage, but has suffered his first major injury in his 20 plus year career. Who am I talking about? I am talking about Eric Young. Eric Young, the man who leads Violent by Design, recently revealed on the Wrestling Perspective podcast, saying that at recent Impact TV tapings, he suffered a torn ACL. It apparently happened during his matchup with James Storm, which aired this past Tuesday. It was James Storm's 1,000th Impact TNA/Impact match, and apparently the injury happened there, but he didn't know that it was a torn ACL, and it ended up wrestling a couple of more matches at the TV tapings before finally getting it checked out, and it was revealed that he suffered a torn ACL. He is looking at a 6 to 9 month recovery period for said injury. He said on the podcast, quote, "At the last tapings, I tore my ACL. It's the first time I've ever been injured. I've missed my first wrestling show this Friday that I was booked on in 24 years of doing it. So it's frustrating, man. I've never been injured. I've been hurt lots, but I've never been injured. I have to have surgery in like a week and a half, and it's going to be a long, long road. So we'll see, man. It's going to get real interesting for me." Again, it turns out he suffered the injury against James Storm during that matchup they had that aired this past Tuesday on Impact. And then he also wrestled in the Hardcore War 8-man tag match match the very next day, then a singles match against Eddie Edwards. I believe that 8-man Hardcore War match will also most likely air on Impact as well. But man, that's heartbreaking for EY, especially because of the fact, he was let go from WWE and managed to come home, came home to Impact, won the Impact World Championship, created this stable, this faction, Violent by Design, and I mean, now he's going to be sitting at home for about 6 to 9 months, and that sucks. He did go on to say in that podcast interview that he's hoping for the lower end of that range, which is 6 months, which means he would be back by either September or October. But if it's on the middle to upper part of that range, we probably won't see EY back in Impact until probably 2022 at the earliest. So hopefully, EY can get healed up and get back to it. Again, this is the first major injury that he suffered in his 20-plus year career. So we'll see how he's able to, bounce back. Age may play a factor in that as well. So we'll see what happens. Before I get to the other news story, got to say what's up to our guy Hector watching us on Facebook Live. Appreciate you, Hector, as always. And he said, after a long shift at the new job, time to watch, relax with watching No Spots. Appreciate it. And congrats on the new job, dude. That's great. Let's see. And he also notices the haircut from the Sith, so that's awesome. Had an early shift at 6 a.m. Jesus Christ, I couldn't do it. Better than me, my friend. Anyway, but again, best wishes to EY that he's able to get that taken care of and is able to get back sooner rather than later. Next up, it's been talked about online that Peacock, with bringing over a lot of the content for WWE, there is some content that is being edited and or removed from the library because of Peacock standards that they have when it comes to programming. Most notably, the whole feud with Bad News Brown and Roddy Piper, where Piper was in half blackface or half black body and everything like that, was removed. A lot of controversial segments have been removed from the catalog as it moves over from the network to Peacock. A very notable segment from the Attitude Era was just recently removed as well. And it's actually one of my favorite segments that I've seen in wrestling. And, a lot of people would think that me as an African American would be offended by this, but I wasn't. I thought it was the most funniest thing in the world. I'm talking about the DX parody of the Nation of Domination, where they were mostly all, well, I think like X-Pac was definitely in full blackface, but they were parodying the Nation of Domination. They had Jason Sensation as Owen Hart, and it was absolutely hilarious. One of my favorite segments out of the Attitude Era, but they don't meet up to the standards of Peacock, so that segment can no longer be found on there going forward. Um, for those who don't know, the segment took place on July the 6th, 1998. And it is now no longer available on that July episode of Raw. It is out of there, gone. You would most likely have to go on the YouTubes to be able to find that segment, but it was a hilarious segment. So apparently, this Raw episode has not yet migrated to Peacock, but the whole episode, but the segment itself is gone. You can't find it. You can't find it at all. So, and also, that parody has also been removed from the video package for that SummerSlam where The Rock was supposed to face Triple H in a ladder match for the IC Championship. So yeah, if you go on Peacock to try to find that, you will not find it. You will have to go on YouTube to find it, which is a shame because again, it was one of my favorite segments. I didn't catch offense to it, but I can understand why they would do that, given the climate that we're in and their standards and things like that. I would understand why they would not want to continue to have that present on their platform in this current climate. I can understand that. Oh, excuse me. So that being said, that segment now no longer will be on those platforms, but I'm pretty sure if you look on like Daily Motion or YouTube, I'm pretty sure you can find it. Next up, as it was announced, AEW will be doing, I believe they have a live taping of Dynamite this coming Wednesday. They're going to be live on Dynamite. Then they're going to also have their first ever non-televised house show event that's taking place the night before night one of WrestleMania. The event, which is being called The House Always Wins, is taking place at Daly's Place on April the 9th. And there have already been matches announced, but a new match was recently added this week based on the actions that happened on Dynamite. After the betrayal of members of the Nightmare Factory on members of the Nightmare family, Cody Rhodes is going to be facing Aaron Solo in a Duval street fight on this show. So with that being added, it was originally supposed to be Cody Rhodes facing Ethan Page in a regular singles match, but now there's going to be a battle royal that will determine who will face Darby Allin for the TNT Championship in that main event of the show. So this is the card now. The card will be Orange Cassidy will be in action. You'll have the Battle Royal for a shot at the TNT Championship in the main event. You'll have the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer. You'll have Scorpio Sky, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Ethan Page, Butcher, Blade, Dustin Rhodes, Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn 10, and Colt Cabana. You will have Eddie Kingston against Cesar Bononi, Jurassic Express, Dante Martin versus The Pinnacle. I believe The Pinnacle will be FTR and Sean Spears. Jay Cargill will see action. The AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida will once again team with Ty Conti, who will also team with Red Velvet in 6-woman tag action against The Bunny, Nyla Rose, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. You will have Cody Rhodes again facing Aaron Solo in a Duval street fight. The AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, along with Brandon Cutler, will go up against the Death Triangle. The whole Death Triangle. Lucha Bros and Pac. Pac looks like he's going to be back from his injured ankle and ready to go. So you got that. And then, of course, the main event will be the winner of the Battle Royal facing Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. And I'm sure that they will have results on that on the interwebs, and we will most likely bring those to you next week before we preview WrestleMania. I want to bring Sith back in because this story right here kind of bothered the hell out of me. This story really bothered the hell out of me. So, yeah. So, many of y'all know it's almost been a year since the tragic suicide death of Stardom's performer and star Hana Kimura, who tragically took her own life after constant bullying and harassment online after an episode of Terrace House came to light that put a negative light on her. And one of the people that was involved and responsible for that was arrested and was brought to face those allegations, right? Well, according to a Washington Post report, the Osaka man who was charged with cyberbullying Hana Kimura. He was fined 9,000 yen for sending several messages to her prior to her death. For those who don't know, 9,000 yen is converted to US dollars. That's only $81. That's how much Hana Kimura's life meant to the Japanese government. That they only fined the man $81 and sent him on his way for bullying this woman that ultimately led to her untimely passing. Some of the messages that he sent. Now, this is what was fucking disturbing. Declared that she had an awful personality, and even asking when she would die. When will you die? Is what one of the messages said. Now, according to the Japanese media, yeah, he apologized to the family and things like that. But you know what? And this is another. This is the report that came from Wrestling Inc. And they said, "quote However, many fans see the punishment as too lenient. Too lenient is a fucking understatement. That Bama basically paid under $100 to torment that poor girl to her death, and he basically got to walk away scot free. All he had to do was pay probably had to pay like up to $100, maybe a little over $100 to include court fees and stuff like that. But he basically paid under $200, and he walks away scot free. And Hana Kimura is no longer with us. Sith, how do you feel about this? I gotta get your thoughts on this, and I'm gonna put you in solo for this one. So
I did get my shit off here. It's bad enough in today's society that we have to deal with bullying, whether it's by race, gender, sexual orientation, national origin, um, the way your hair looks, if a woman wears too much makeup or a guy wears makeup, whatever. All this guy's life, all this woman's life was worth, at the end of the day, was about 200 United States dollars at the end of the day, when you factor in court fees as well as the 9,000 yen, which is $81. Because the yen is, the dollar is not worth as much as the yen. Let's be fully honest here. Take it from someone who watches Bloomberg every fucking weeknight. This is abhorrent. This is sending a message to bullies everywhere that guess what? You can tell someone when do you die and keep doing it. And the Japanese government will just give you a slap on the wrist and send you on your way. And buy your bullshit apology. Fuck that guy's apology. Fuck him. His apology doesn't mean jack fucking shit. A woman died. Died because she committed suicide because a guy kept on bullying her. I'm going to tell y'all right now, anyone who's listening to any show on this goddamn network, if you condone bullying in any way, I want nothing to do with your fucking ass. Period. End of story. All you bullies can take this right here, go right up your ass. Champ.
agreed. I hate the fact that I hate the fact that all the guy got was a fine. No jail time, no nothing. And he can simply just apologize and he can move on. I just find that to be absolutely abhorrent. Absolutely find that to be absolutely pathetic. And Hana's mother has been looking for the studio and the broadcasting team people that produce the show to have some kind of accountability for this because they were the ones that broadcast this that led to the bullying, which led to her committing suicide. So it's like, dude, show some accountability. Y'all aired the damn thing. Why didn't y'all do something to try to safeguard her from being, harassed like this? So I get it. And I don't like this. I don't. I hate it. I hate it. I hate the fact that this young woman lost her life because of this, and all the dude got was basically he got a flick on the wrist, and he can go on about his life. Hana can't. Hana has no life, and she was in her early 20s. She had so much ahead of her, and now she doesn't have it. And one of the people that was responsible for it, that got caught, basically doesn't get a punishment. They just pay money, and that's it. And that's gonna send the wrong message unless the Japanese government gets really, really tough on this kind of thing, and they dip this in the bud and say no. The next time you're caught cyberbullying someone to the point that they commit suicide, you're going to pay, and you're going to pay very, very severely. So this guy gets away with it, but I'm pretty sure the next person's not going to get away with it. I could guarantee you that. Hector says this guy got a fucking slap on the wrist. I can't stand for this. As someone who was bullied, I know what it does to your psyche. It's really debilitating. On my old FB, I did a rant about this. That was like 20 some odd minutes. I try to find and send it to y'all. Yeah, definitely send me that, Hector. I want to see that. If you want to message it to me message to us on the Facebook page, I'll definitely try to check it out. But yeah, no, Hector, I can understand that. I was slightly understand how it feels, and it sucks. It really sucks. But you know, it basically the. Hmm, I guess the best way I can put it is yes, it's debilitating to the psyche, but it's also a way for you to rise above it, to see where your heart and your convictions are and who you are as a person. That's what I would say. I got bullied, and I'm still, yeah, it messes with my mind sometimes, but at the same time, I know who I am as a person, so I don't let it get to me. Um, and with that, let's finish off our news and notes with this story that came out of last night's New Japan Strong episode. It was the final Road to New Japan Cup show before the actual New Japan Cup USA tournament, which begins next Friday. And before the show, at the beginning of the show, it was announced that the winner of the New Japan Cup USA tournament will not only get a nice little trophy, but unlike last year's tournament, they won't get a shot at the IWGP United States Championship that's still being held by Jon Moxley. Oh no, they'll get something a lot more. It won't be a shot at a championship, but was announced that the winner of the tournament will be crowned the inaugural New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Open Weight Champion. The championship belt was introduced on last night's episode, and again, will go to the winner of the New Japan Cup USA tournament. The belt was created by Belts by Dan, who also created the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship belt that has gotten so much talk around the wrestling spectrum since its introduction on Tuesday. There you go. The men that will be vying for this championship, there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. There are 16 men that are vying for this championship. And they will begin that trek with the championship matches, with tournament matches next week. Why is this? This is interesting. But we have tournament matches. Hold on, I'm gonna pull this up because this article is not given the accurate information when it comes to the tournament and the first round matches, because it's not 16 in there, it's 8. They're saying it's 16, which is weird because I'm like, no, that can't be right. Right. So give me a moment. Look at this live stuff here, folks. This is what you get here on No Spots Podcast. Right. Okay, so yeah, it's only 4 first round matches, and it begins on April the 9th. You're gonna have Ren Narita against Filthy Tom Lawler. You're gonna have Clark Connors against Leo Rush, Fred Rosher against Hikuleo, and Big Bad Brody King against Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson. And the winners of those matches will face off the next week in semifinal action. The finals will take place on April the 23rd, live on New Japan World. Make sure that you have a subscription in order to check it out. So again, the winner of that tournament will face off for the championship. The winner of that tournament will become the inaugural strong open weight champion. That looks to be a championship that'll be exclusive to New Japan Strong. So now they have their own championship over there, whereas of course New Japan has their championships that they have. Speaking of Strong, we're gonna transition. Look at that. I said this during the pre-production that I wanted to save that story for last as a means to transition us over to our New Japan recap. There's Hector. The new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship looks awful, but maybe it'll grow on me like the WWE Championship that The Rock introduced in 2013, which evolved into the World Heavyweight Championship in 2014. So I'll get into that in just a minute, but I want to talk about what happened in New Japan this week. Of course, New Japan had their very brief Road to Sakura Genesis tour this week, where they had a couple televised events in Corcoran Hall, which included on Tuesday, on March the 30th, the introduction of the new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship belt, which was presented to Kota Ibushi. A lot of controversy behind that. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But we move on to Strong last night. Again, this was the Road to New Japan Cup 2021 USA Tournament, or the Road to, and they had 3 matches before we get into the actual tournament itself. You had Rocky Romero with a victory over Kevin Knight, the Young Lion in the LA Dojo. You had TJP and Alex Coughlin get the victory over Jordan Clearwater and Mysterioso. And then the main event in a 6-man tag, Team Filthy's Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson, Filthy Tom Law, and JR Kratos were able to get the victory over Brody King and the Regal Twins in that one. And then there was a post-match dirty beatdown by Team Filthy to finish off the show. So that's where we're at there with Strong. Again, next week is when the tournament will begin. I can't wait to watch that. And then, of course, on Sunday, for those who are watching this, we have Sakura Genesis 2021 taking place at Ryogoku Sumo Hall in Tokyo, which is headlined by the first defense of the World Heavyweight Championship by Kota Ibushi. He'll be facing the winner of the New Japan Cup, Will Ospreay. Also, you'll have on this match in the semifinal for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, Sho and Yo, Roppongi 3K reunited after Yo will make his return and his first appearance in the ring competing since he tore his ACL during the New Japan Cup last June. He and Sho will challenge Yoshinobu Kanemaru and El Desperado in their first defense as the 64th Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions in that one. And then there will be a bunch of multi-man matches before those 2 matches will be taking place, including the Dangerous Tekkers and Doki going up against the Gorillas of Destiny, the Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, and Jado in a 6-man tag team match. Again, that will take place on the 4th. We will have a recap on that next week during our New Japan recap on our penultimate episode for this season. So that's it for New Japan this week. Again, we'll be back at it next week talking about New Japan next week. All right, again, it's Wrestlemania week, and this is a busy week for WWE because, of course, you're going to have your go-home shows for Raw and SmackDown, which have already been taped because they're moving out of the Thunderdome this week to get ready to move into their new Thunderdome location for the time being so that the Tampa Bay Rays can have their stadium ready for the opening of their baseball season. So those are already in the can. And, again, with no fans in the stands, spoilers are not leaking out. So I think that's the one benefit to this pandemic era and no fans in the stands is that very few, if any, spoilers are leaking out about tape shows. So that's awesome. But we have the Raw and SmackDown Go Home shows. Of course, you're going to also have NXT Takeover, Stand and Deliver. We also have NXT Prelude as well, which we'll have a full report on that, the recap of that as part of the NXT UK report next week as well from the Sith. He does a great job with that. So, but we're here to talk about NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver, which will be a 2-night affair, sticking with the theme of 2 nights for these big events. Of course, WrestleMania is 2 nights. Stand and Deliver will be 2 nights. We also will have the WWE Hall of Fame, which will be a 1-night affair only on Peacock, where both the 2020 and 2021 classes will be inducted on the same night. But let's talk about Takeover Stand and Deliver. Again, it's 2 nights, so we're gonna break it up into both nights. We're gonna preview and predict each night, each match on each night, and then we'll give you what we think will be our preliminary grades for either for nights 1 and 2, as well as preliminary grade overall as well. So let's get right into it. First, on night 1, we have a special singles match. We have Pete Dunne going one-on-one against Kushida. The story behind this is that Kushida has dubbed himself as one of the best technical wrestlers around. Pete Dunne took offense to that and said, "Nah, mate, that's me." And they ended up eliminating each other this past Wednesday during the Gauntlet Eliminator Battle Royal to determine who would be a part of it, who would be a part of it, who would be the sixth to be a part of it, and then the order of entry. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But they eliminated each other, putting themselves out of the Gauntlet Eliminator, but into a singles match against each other. So, Sith, just your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen with this matchup between two tech wizards such as Pete Dunne and Kushida?
All right, y'all. This is going to be an awesome mix. Let's get out our little blender here, because you're putting in Japanese strong style and British strong style. This won't be the main event, but it's going to be solid regardless on where it ends up on night 1. Going with Kushida here. And I think it's possible that he gets a W here, but it's not going to hit the bruiserweight, though, as it's going to be what we call slobber knocking, meat slapping, bone bending match. It's going to be amazing, champ.
Yeah, I agree with Sith. It's definitely going to be a strong style affair, British strong style versus Japanese strong style. The submission in this is going to be absolutely a chef's kiss. Mwah. And the fact that this kind of just came out of nowhere, but it still felt so organic how this matchup came together, because it's like, Pete Dunne's been looking for somebody to he's been looking to show people that he's such a great technician in the ring, and then this just literally fell in his lap, like someone like Kushida, who is one of the most decorated junior heavyweights in the world, left New Japan as one of the most decorated junior heavyweights there, and you couldn't ask for a better matchup between the two. Seth, who did you pick a winner? I don't know if you picked the winner or not. Kushida, gotcha. I'm going with Pete Dunne. I'm going with Pete Dunne here. I think that they built this enough. They built Pete Dunne enough to the point where even if he loses, it doesn't hurt him. But I think he does. I think he gets a win here. I think he gets a win, and I think you start to have him in the conversation once again for the NXT title, and who I feel will be the NXT champion when this is all said and done, when this 2-night event is all said and done. So my pick is Pete Dunne. So there you go. Pete Dunne is my pick there. Next, we have ourselves a triple threat tag team match to determine the new NXT tag team champions. Now, for those who don't know, the original champions at this time were Orny Lorcan and Danny Burch. Unfortunately, Danny Burch suffered a severely separated shoulder, which will require surgery and a lengthy time off. So because of that, the team had to forfeit the NXT Tag Team Championships. So now a triple threat will be determined to figure out who will be the next Tag Team Champions. You're going to have MSK, who won this year's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. You have the grizzled young veterans, and then you have Legado del Fantasma. Sith, who you liking this one? What are you thinking about this one?
MSK has been on a tear since their debut a few months ago in the Dusty Cup. And that has since their NXT debut, because Champ and I really enjoyed watching them as the Rascals down in Impact Wrestling. Grizzled Young Veterans and Legado del Fantasma, solid heel tag teams, but they're solid technicians as well. So you kind of have to ignore the fact they're heel factions and also understand that they're solid technical and also ground wrestlers, as are MSK. Now I know with Champ, Donnie, Sage, Hector, even my girlfriend are thinking, you're going with Grizzled or Legado, one or the other. No, I'm shocking y'all. I'm going with MSK here to win the NXT Tag Team Championships. It just makes sense to me to have Wesley Nash Carter to really get things going. And I think it's a long term for them eventually to go to the main roster. But the first step is them being NXT Tag Team Champions. Champ?
And I'm also going with MSK. So it's not really a shock to me. The team has been on fire since coming into since coming into NXT. They have been absolutely exciting, entertaining. They won the Dusty Cup this past year, beating the Grizzled Young Veterans who made it to the finals for the second straight year. Now, when I look at this, I just don't see Legado del Fantasma as the team to potentially win the tag team championships. And it's because of that I feel like that they'll pull a swerve on us and they'll be the ones that win it, which will piss me off to the highest level of passivity. But I'm going to go with MSK as well. I think this is where, you elevate a team, and I think it'll be a big FU and a stick it to Impact to say, look, we were able to do this with those boys when you couldn't. What happened, right? So that's my simple answer there is MSK will become the next NXT Tag Team Champions. Let's see. Hector's got Kushida winning, and he's got the Rascals pinning Legado to leave Grizzled Young Veterans versus Rascal at a later date. I like that. That's good. Next, we looking at the 6-man gauntlet eliminator match. Again, their version of the eliminator gauntlet is basically like a Royal Rumble. It's just a smaller Royal Rumble where each person will come in timed intervals until everybody is in and things like that. So, you'll have Leon Ruff, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, Dexter Loomis, and L.A. Knight. Yep, that's 6. All 6 of those, with LA Knight earning the position of coming in last after winning the Battle Royal this past Wednesday, eliminating Dexter Loomis last. I'm picking Loomis in this one because I feel like they've been teasing this whole Loomis versus Gargano thing for the North American Championship for weeks now. What better way to have it culminate than for Loomis to somehow win this Eliminator Gauntlet and then go on to face Johnny and beat Johnny and become the North American champion, or not even beat Johnny, just face him. He doesn't even. I don't even. We'll get to who I think is going to win in the American Championship match, but my pick is Loomis. I think it's going to be Loomis. You could easily make the case for a guy like Bronson Reed or even Cameron Grimes or even LA Knight. But I think it's going to be Dexter Loomis. Seth, what do you think?
I know what y'all thinking, fam. Sith is going to go with L.A. Knight for the W. Yeah. Nope. Swerving here. And I'm thinking whatever the way has in mind, it's going to backfire. Dexter Loomis wins the gauntlet. Okay, it'll be incredible to see LA Knight versus Loomis at the end, but I'm going with the Dr. Stone Blue Eye Giant himself, Dexter Loomis.
Okay. There we go. So Loomis was to be the one to challenge Johnny Gargano for the North American Championship on night 2. Cool. All right, let's move on to the second of 3 championship matches that will take place on night 1. And it is for the NXT United Kingdom Championship. Walter, Tommaso Ciampa. All I know is that Tommaso Ciampa is going to have his chest is going to be about as red as this can of G Fuel is, right? It's gonna be that red with the amount of chops that Walter's gonna lay on him. I'm gonna enjoy this match because both men know how to hit and hit hard and be violent as fuck. Sid, who do you think comes out winning this match?
Oh, well, I was talking to my girlfriend about this earlier. Because I've been going back and forth on this, and I finally made a decision on it literally during lunch. Literally. I'm going with our ring general. I'm going with Walter. Nothing against the greatness of Ciampa. His legacy will not be hurt at all in this because in NXT, his legacy is like, it's fucking established. If there's ever a chance for him to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, he gets in based on his NXT legacy because he, along with Johnny Gargano, have, along with a whole bunch of others, have really built up NXT to be a major player. But I got to go with my gut, and it says that Walter retains his NXT UK Men's Championship in a very strong match. And yeah, both guys are going to feel it the next day, big time.
I'm also going with Walter as well. I love the prospect of what this match could entail. I love the fact that it'll be on Wednesday on USA, so I could watch it on DVR the next morning and just sit there and just look back and be able to rewind on chops and get a reaction from not only the people that will be in the CWC, but also from Vic Joseph and Wade and Beth when it happens. I mean, good grief. It is going to be one of those slobber knocker type of matches that you very rarely get to see. But I gotta give it to Walter right there. I mean, the man has been champion for nearly 700 freaking days. I think over 700 freaking days, I believe.
Let me look
And
that up.
yeah, look that up real quick. But he's been the champion for the longest. He currently holds the record for the longest reign as the United Kingdom champion, both under the WWE alliteration as well as the NXT alliteration. So it's I just don't see a point in taking it off of Walter for Ciampa, who is part of the NXT brand proper, unless they're planning on having it defended here in the States. But clearly, the travel restrictions have loosened a bit for for Europe, because that's why Devlin's over here. That's why Vulture's over here with the rest of Imperium and all this other stuff. So I would think that the travel restrictions being loosened would make it so that you don't need to take the title off of Walter to have it defended over here in the States. I think that he's still able to come to the States and defend it here and there. Right? So
Damn.
there you go. What's up?
Here
Oh,
is
you know what? You know what? I like this. I like this because guess what? We haven't done this in a while, but this right here, how long has Walter been the NXT UK champion? That's going to be your stat of the day, folks.
Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day!
Okay, Champ here with your stat of the day here on No Spots. The date Walter won, April 5th, 2019. Today is April the 3rd, 2021. 728 days.
Wow.
And that is your stat of the day.
That is your stat of the day. Wow.
Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day!
728 days as the NXT United Kingdom champion. That is amazing. And by the time we get to next Wednesday, that will be, I believe, if my math is correct, 734. That'll be day 734, and I don't think it ends there, right? So yeah, so going with Volta here. Let's see. Dexter, okay, Hector's got Dexter Loomis as well in the Eliminator. He's got Volta retaining the NXT UK Championship. By Takeover, he'll be champion by 734. So yeah, I was right on that. Cool. All right, now for what we expect to be the main event of night one, for the NXT Women's Championship. Io Shirai, who's held that championship for quite a long time, and has been a very, very fighting champion. Finally going up against Raquel Gonzalez for that championship. We've only been waiting since War Games for this match to actually happen, and now we're going to finally get it. And I can't wait. Sith, how do you feel about Io versus Raquel, especially given what happened this past Wednesday?
They've done an amazing job building this. And this is a match, as Champ said, we've been waiting since November to happen. Okay? As much as I love the Genius of the Sky, and I think she has elevated the NXT women's division to a whole new level, I'm going with Raquel Gonzalez to be our new NXT women's champion. Io Shirai is not going to be happy with the end result, and it will lay down for a good rivalry story. But I'm going with Raquel Gonzalez.
Interesting, very interesting. So I look at this. I look at this matchup, and again, we saw this coming when Raquel Gonzalez was able to get the pinfall victory in that War Games matchup for Team Candice. And you felt it right then and there, like, okay, because she pinned Io Shirai in that match. She pinned Io in that match, so you kind of figured, okay, this is going to happen. But then she kind of got derailed. Of course, she had to finish her thing with Rhea. And then she just was like, then she did the Dusty Cup for the women, which was the first one for the women. Then she became the tag team champion for like an hour. Then she lost it. Then we finally get to the point where it's like, hey, remember back in November at War Games when you pinned Io? Well, now you're finally getting your title shot, and it's on WrestleMania week. And Sith is saying, yes, Raquel Gonzalez will be the new champ. Even Hector's saying on the comments on Facebook Live, it's Raquel Gonzalez's time to be champion, time for the Latinas to shine and make the Rio Grande Valley proud. I'm going against the both of y'all. I think Io retains here. Nothing against Raquel. I think that she has put herself in the position that she could be a dominant women's champion. And she's made it so that it looks like she's going to absolutely steamroll Io Shirai. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Especially because of the fact that, right now she's pushing, like I think that Io may end up being a year-long plus champion. Even though this could be her most viable challenger and most viable challenge, I think that Io retains here. She won the championship back on June the 7th of last year. We all remember that. It was at NXT TakeOver in your house. And now she's gone through a lot of challengers, but I just feel like the stars are aligning for Io to have to continue this run, to be a champion for at least a year. And so, listen, Hector, like I said, nothing against Raquel. I like Raquel, and I like what she's been presented as. I just gotta stick with my gut here and go with Io. I don't mind being wrong here. I don't mind being wrong and it being Raquel, but I just gotta go with Io here. I'm going with Io here, and I feel like that's how the show will close out for night one, is Io celebrating, continuing her reign as the champion. A reign that is 2 months away from 365, from an entire year. Right? So let's go. So that's night one. And I feel like night one will be a B plus. I feel like it'll be a B plus. And the only reason why I say B plus is because that 6-man gauntlet, you got a lot of crossing storylines in that matchup. So you hope that they don't overproduce it, because you got the whole beef with Leon Ruff and Isaiah Swerve Scott. You got the beef with Reed and with LA Knight. You also have LA Knight's going to have beef with Loomis after the way he eliminated him on Wednesday. So you're going to have a lot of crossing storylines and a lot of crossing rivalries and stuff like that. I just hope they don't overproduce it and things like that. Just, make it be what it can be to excite the fans and make it so that we don't see who's obviously going to be the winner and become the number one contender and things like that. So my initial grade, I think, is going to be a B plus, but I also put that there because I have a feeling it's going to be a lot better than a B plus, in my opinion. But I wanted to put it at a B plus just to be fair. Sith, what about you?
Yeah, I'm saying A minus, but for the same thing that Champ said. You don't want that third match, the gauntlet match, to be underproduced or overproduced. But if the entire night one is produced properly, top to bottom, and you don't have any slips up botch wise, this has the potential to be an A plus night.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying.
it depends on it. The gauntlet is going to be whether it keeps around A minus, B plus, A, or it says, okay, we can aim for the stars and go for an A plus on night one.
Right. Yeah. We'll see. But like I said, I'm sticking with B plus. We'll see what happens come Wednesday night. And we will not be doing live reactions for that. We'll only be doing live reactions for WrestleMania. But we will be giving a full review of this next week. So make sure you stay on top. Make sure you check us out next week for episode 105. All right, night two. Night two. Night two is where we're gonna have a lot going on. We have four championship matches on night two. But before we get to the championship matches, let's talk about the one match that's not for a championship. It's the unsanctioned fight between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. We already know the story behind this. Cole turning his back on the and ending the undisputed era, nearly putting Kyle O'Reilly out of the wrestling. They had an incident where they were arrested after on the side of the road. They've been back and forth. This has been a big story building over the last several weeks, and it's coming to a head with this fight where it's basically unsanctioned. For those who don't know what an unsanctioned street fight, unsanctioned match is, the old term for it was lights out match. Basically means that there are no rules, anything goes. But if they kept records in terms of win loss record, it doesn't count against them whether they win or lose. And basically, the company in kayfabe is not responsible and will not be held liable for any injuries that are suffered in a match like this. So, Sith, how do you feel about this match? There's nothing on the line. It's just a
Now,
personal battle.
this reminds me of the old school grudge matches from back in the day. Matter of fact, if you take away the fact that they were fighting over, I believe, the television title, Tully Blanchard Magnum TA, it, you're not going to get the violence of that match, of the I Quit match that I love to go back to all the time and rewatch. But this is going to be a hell of a match. I'm going with Adam Cole in this, probably against my better judgment. You know, my gut is telling me Kyle. I'm going to go with my brains, go with my head, just one time. Adam Cole.
I'm going Cole as well. I feel like, especially if who I think is going to win the NXT Championship comes out and wins it, I think that Cole will be the next to challenge for that championship. And so I think in order for that to happen, I think that he beats Kyle O'Reilly. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle does pull out the victory, but I think it's going to be Adam Cole in this instance. So I'm going with Cole. And Hector, by the way, back to talking about night one, gives it a preliminary grade of a B. Because in all honesty, NXT is building Takeover better than Mania, and that's saying a lot. Night one has to set the foundation for which night two has to build upon. Yes, and he's got Kyle O'Reilly beating Cole, so he's going against the grain. He's got Kyle O'Reilly winning, but he thinks that he wins so that Cole ends up on the main roster, which maybe he does get that call up. So maybe he does lose to get that call up. We'll see. But I'm going with Cole. Seth's going with Cole. Now, let's talk about these championship matches. First, you have the next defense for TCB. Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart as the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. They will be going up against Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae of The Way, defending those tag team championships. This is an easy one for me. I'm going with TCB. I listen. I like The Way. I do. I like what they're doing with The Way. The shit that with Austin Theory and how he's such a dumbass. And Indy just seems like she's clueless as well. And you got like Johnny Gargano and Candice seem like they're just parents with that are frustrated that they have they special needs kids that don't seem to want to get help. It's crazy. I like it. I just don't see it being viable when you have such a cohesive team such as Ember and Shotzi. I just don't see the reason for a title change this quick. You already had a quick title change early on in this title's lineage. Your first champions held them for only an hour and then they lost them, right? So you don't want to turn around and have your second champions lose them in under 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks. You don't want this because your main roster tag team champion is already stained, right? So you don't want your NXT tag team championships on the women's side to be stained as well as whoever holds them don't hold them for very long, right? So you want Ember and you want Shotzi to retain here. So my pick is TCB. What do you got, Sith?
You know, the nightmare that starts Wednesday night with Dexter Loomis coming out of the gauntlet continues here. Candice and Indy are not winning this fucking match. They aren't. It's going to be entertaining, yes. But TBC's got this, okay? If you disagree, please kindly join us. Tell us where we're wrong. But TCB. I mean, the only way TCB loses is if somehow the powers that be over at NXT decide that they're done separating themselves from the debacle that is women's tag team wrestling on the main roster. Not happening. TCB.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, TCB, and also Hector's also going with TCB as well over Candice and Indy. So that was a simple one right there. All right, North American Championship match. Johnny Gargano going up against the winner of the Gauntlet Eliminator match that's taking place on night one, which to us is going to be none other than Dexter Loomis. So we're saying Loomis versus Gargano. Sith, who do you got?
The North American Championship is about to change hands here. Yep, I said it. I had Dexter Loomis winning this goddamn match and also causing a major ripple effect in The Way. Okay, as you've had seeds planted where Indy's like, he's kind of hot. And Austin Theory has had a hard time with his last encounter with Dexter Loomis. He just has not been the same at all. And although he's tried to convince that all is well, it's a lot like over in AEW with Team Taz. All is not well with Team Taz. Well, Team Taz is more solidly together than The Way. The Way is fucking fractured. It's going to be exposed. Dexter Loomis is your new NXT North American Champion. Champ.
Okay, clearly you've been reading my mind, and somehow you've been reading my notes, and I haven't even showed them to you. I'm also going with Loomis to win the NXT North American Championship. I feel like they've been building this for a while for him to become a champion. How well will he be received as champion is the question I can't answer at this point. But I feel like it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a very competitive match. I mean, it's Takeover. Johnny Gargano shows up at Takeovers. He shows out at Takeovers. And so I honestly feel like this is going to be another one of those matches where we're going to remember it for a while. Even if it is Dexter Loomis, we're going to sit back and be like, Jesus Christ, what a match that was. But I think the end result, though, is Johnny Gargano will lose the championship to Loomis. Hector's also got Loomis, but he thinks it's going to be a 2-minute squash. He must not know who Johnny Wrestling is. For real. I just don't see them having a 2-minute squash for Johnny Gargano at a takeover with the reputation and the amount of good matches he's had at takeovers previous. It's not going to be a squash. Austin Theory has a severe case of Stockholm syndrome. So there you go. That could play a role in the outcome. We'll see. But end result is Loomis will become the new North American champion. We could be wrong,
No.
but that's why we do this.
It's not going to be a 2-minute squash. No. They only do squashes and takeover if there's a legit injury and they have to rush the finish. It's not happening here.
All right, next we have for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship to determine who is the actual NXT Cruiserweight Champion. And it'll be a ladder match. It'll be Jordan Devlin, who was the NXT Cruiserweight Champion before the world was set on fire, against Santos Escobar, who won a tournament to become the interim Cruiserweight Champion. The ladder match stipulation was proposed by Shawn Michaels, who we all remember had that legendary ladder match with Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10. And we know his propensity for the ladder match and also his propensity for performing well at WrestleMania. He was known as Mr. WrestleMania for his career. I like this because we knew this was going to happen. We just had to wait for the world to get settled for this to happen. Again, let's recap what's going on here. Jordan Devlin at NXT TakeOver back in Portland back in February wins the NXT Cruiserweight Championship in a fatal 4-way. So we're thinking, man, this is about to be a good little run. He's about to go on with that championship. He goes home to his country of Ireland, and then the pandemic hit, and basically the world shut down. No one was leaving the UK and England and everything, and Europe and everything like that. No one was leaving the United States. And so a man who currently held a championship that was more for the States than overseas is stuck overseas. So they had to do something. They didn't strip him, but they just created a tournament so they could have a Cruiserweight champion here in the States. And it just so happened that Santos Escobar ends up winning that tournament. And then he goes on and has such a dominant run as the Cruiserweight champion to the point that I've said on this podcast, I think that they built him up to be too powerful that, especially as a Cruiserweight, like somebody's got to be like uber powerful as a Cruiserweight to be able to drop him. But now look what we have here. We have Jordan Devlin, who is finally able to come over from the UK, from Ireland. He's the Cruiserweight champion. He came out of NXT UK and said, hey, I'm the real Cruiserweight champion here. Defended that championship on NXT UK television. And now we're finally going to be able to get the chance to find out who is the true Cruiserweight champion. Is it Santos Escobar? Or is it Jordan Devlin? You know what my answer is, and my pick for this is? It's Jordan Devlin. Because I feel like he was destined to have a very deep run with this championship with good defenses, but unfortunately didn't get the opportunity because he was stuck in the UK, and then NXT UK had to shut down because of the lockdowns and the restrictions in the UK. So he didn't get a chance to be champion. Let him be champion, and let's see what he can do with that championship. I'm picking Devlin. Sith, what about you?
Okay, before we go any further in depth with these predictions, all these predictions will be posted Wednesday morning on our Facebook page. So that way, you want to compare predictions with us, you can do that starting Wednesday morning.
Awesome.
I'll put them on there.
Awesome.
This is to unify the Cruiserweight Championship, as Champ said, and the winner of this match will be going between 205 Live, NXT, and NXT UK now that things have started to open a bit travel-wise post-COVID. Champ, you know I love ladder matches.
Yep.
All of you do. Sage is literally probably watching this on delay and going, man, since in heaven, it's a ladder match. I have only one question though. Who watches Jordan Devlin's back if Legado del Fantasma gets involved to help Santos Escobar?
Good question.
That this has been bugging me all week, literally, and I've been racking my brain. Racked it during lunch, and I'm sticking with what I'm doing. It. Your winner and undisputed NXT Cruiserweight Champion is Santos Escobar.
Okay. I like it. I like it. And Hector's also going with Santos Escobar, saying that he met the guy 4 years ago in Juarez, so he has a bit of a bias, but he's going with Santos Escobar as well. I got to write the predictions down because I won't remember it for the life of me. Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's what I do is I write mine down as well because I can't remember either. But yeah, so we're different on that one. I'm going with Devlin. You're going with Escobar. And that brings us to what we expect would be the main event of night two for the NXT Championship. Finn Balor against Karrion Kross. This one right here was an easy pick for me, and it was Karrion Kross because remember, when Karrion Kross won the championship last year, he didn't even get a chance to even be champion long enough. He suffered a separated shoulder during the matchup that caused him to have to relinquish the belt literally a couple days later. And so I think that they had plans for him as a champion going forward, but then the injury happened, and then they had to drop the belt. Then Finn ends up winning it, and then Finn takes the ball and runs with it. I think that Karrion Kross will finally get a chance to be champion. Hopefully, he can come out healthy. He comes out healthy. I think he'll be a strong fighting champion, and I think it'll be a good little run for him. So I'm going with Karrion Kross to become the next NXT champion. What about you, Seth?
All right. I'm going to give Finn Balor props here. He's had a career resurgence in his return to NXT after the main roster debacle. Okay? I have to give him props. His career has gone to a whole new level since he's come back. Kross is back as champ said after a separated shoulder injury that caused him to relinquish the title that he won right after Takeover 30 because it happened in August. I too am saying fallen prey. I'm going with Karrion Kross. He's going to win back the title that he never got to defend and had to vacate due to injury, and he's going to be a very dominant champion. Going with Kross here.
Nice, yeah. Karrion Kross all the way. I think is going to be the smart pick here. I think Balor's done everything he's needed to do with the NXT Championship and things like that. He doesn't really need to hold on to it anymore. I think it's time for Kross. Hector's agreeing to, so he's going with Karrion Kross as well. He doesn't actually reign longer than 4 days. Sorry, Finn, but your main concern should be Walter and the NXT UK Championship. Remember, that was a thing before the pandemic. That was a thing. So maybe he goes that route. Who knows? But Karrion Kross. Now, for my preliminary grade for night two, I feel like night two could be will most likely be better than night one. So I'm giving it a preliminary grade of an A. I think it'll be A night with the potential to be an A plus night. And because of the fact that, again, you have 4 championships, plus you have a very, very, what's going to be likely a violent, unsanctioned street fight, right? So yeah, so I got it as an A. What do you think, Sith?
Same as you, A. And if I were to combine them both top to bottom, it's an easy A preliminary grade for me, with the potential for both to go A, A plus. I think that night two is going to be solid from head to toe. So giving it an ending grade of an A plus is going to be easy. The big elephant in the room is on night one, which we've already covered with that gauntlet match. As much as I love gauntlet matches, that's one elephant in the room where both nights could not get an A plus.
All right, and then given like the overall grade, both nights, how do you think this show will play out in terms of overall grade for both the entire show?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Shout out to everyone who's watching us so far and enjoying the show. Thank you for watching. Um, both nights, top to bottom, solid. The only match Champ and I have a problem with, especially me, is the gauntlet match. Because as Champ said, you have all these different stories intertwining. It You hope it doesn't go sideways. And it's going to be intriguing as you're starting to do that segue for people to get more stuff on Peacock. I have my preliminary grade for both nights combined as a A with the potential to go to an A plus if night one goes solidly and goes above expectations. Night two will help carry it to an A plus, but I could see the final grade of both nights being at an A if the gauntlet brings down night one.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say A minus for the just averaging out from my preliminary grades. I think A minus could be the potential grade for the show overall, but I think it could go up. I just don't see this event being anything lower than a B plus overall at all. I just don't see it simply because of the fact that the match qualities themselves are just so strong to and I just feel like it's gonna deliver, just like the title says, stand and deliver. They're gonna deliver. They're gonna deliver, and it's gonna be awesome. And the fact is during the week, and it's with everything else that's going on. I mean, what else can you ask for as a wrestling fan? Let's see. Hector says I got A for night two, so I got an average with a night one of B. It'll be a B plus between the two. Okay, fair enough.
Cool.
So that's our recap for that's our preview, I should say, for Stand and Deliver. Again, we will not be doing live reactions on Twitch for Stand and Deliver. You can just watch it because again, I'll be watching the DVR version of Night One on Thursday. So, but we will talk about it and recap it on Saturday. Time of the podcast next Saturday to be determined. Because again, remember that's WrestleMania Night 1 on that night, so we might need to be a little earlier so that we have time between the finish of the podcast to be able to chill, eat, and then come back and reconvene with you on Twitch for Night 1 reactions to WrestleMania 37. So, yeah, we got a busy week coming up, guys. All right, let's get into our week in review, shall we? For the weekend review, of course, as always, our 2 out of 3 fall segment where we pick 5 bits from each show and pick which 2 were good and which one was not good or what we did not like or however way we work it. But that's what we do here. We do it that way. We're going to begin, of course, with Monday Night Raw, which was okay. It was okay. Nothing to write home about, but it was okay. Right? All right, so Sith, before I get to you, let's see, because Hector's got more comments. The mayor is in the building. He's on the Facebook Live, and he said, "Watch the NXT Stand and Deliver outshine WrestleMania. It has the last couple of years that they've had a takeover with WrestleMania. It has outshined WrestleMania. I don't get how that works, but whatever."
What's good, Mayor? How you doing?
Yep, the mayor's in the building. Make sure you check out the Starting Five podcast wherever you find your podcast, and make sure you check out the Starting Five podcast group on Facebook. Just search Starting Five podcast, and I'm sure the mayor will put a link down there in the comments on the Facebook page on if you're watching on Facebook and stuff like that. So it's down there. Right. Okay, Seth. Here we go. Here's your 5 bits. Number 1. Probably one of the best factions of this COVID-19 era, the Hurt Business, comes to an end. That's number 1. Number 2, Sheamus going one-on-one with Riddle, getting the victory. Number 3, Drew McIntyre and Ricochet in the main event, and everything that happened post-match, including King Corbin coming from SmackDown, beating up on Drew before getting put in the Hurt Lock, did Drew, by Bobby Lashley. Xavier Woods versus AJ Styles. We'll include the game night as well if you want to, if that makes any difference on whether it was good or bad, or if you don't want to rank it, that's fine. And finally, Bad Bunny laying a stiff punch to The Miz during their confrontation. Those are your five, sir. Have at it.
I'm just an average Joe with a regular job. Sorry, I had to sing to get us into this one because there are parts of Raw that I liked, and then there are parts that I look back on it were just absolutely miserable and Champ sweet spot here. Because my favorite thing this week was the New Day promo plus the match with AJ Styles, Omos, and the New Day. The promo itself was funny. Okay, it's just to build a little bit more tension, try to do a rushed story. You can't fault these guys for the fact that they're caught into a rushed storyline right now. So I tend to overlook that. They're doing the best with the material that they've got. And the match itself helped the build as we see a little bit what Omos is, a monster heel. And sure, it was a DQ. It's not going to harm AJ or Xavier Woods or the New Day or Omos, which is a yes. Omos is going to be a force worth to be reckoned with. So Sith has no problems with that. As much as I don't like Corbin, I enjoyed the matches that Drew McIntyre had. Even though there were squashes to make them look good, make them look strong. You see why Ricochet and Mustafa Ali are essentially on main event every week because they're barely promoted, and even though the matches were pointless with what I was given, it's what I enjoyed secondly. But absolutely the worst of the week. Oh, dear God. Hurt Business breaking up. And I'm sure this would be on Champ's list too. I mean, you mean to tell me that you want to leave a door open for match at WrestleMania, and after having the caveat that Cedric and Shelton are banned from ringside, you're just going to split up the faction that had excellent heat with the fans. Okay? Heat-wise, to begin with, is running the show on a weekly basis because they aren't putting out good stories that you can actually enjoy and follow weekly. It's just an absolutely shit way to open the show. And the implosion, the way it took place, just took things down really fast. Hey, thanks for nothing, WWE, because you just basically told us that next Saturday night, Lashley's losing the belt. Oh, God, I said a banned word, Champ. I said a banned word in there. I said belt. I'm sorry, WWE. I'm sorry, Vince. But I'm sorry. It is the worst thing. I could get into a major rant about that, but that's down below. Champ, I'm going to give you your 5, homie.
Well, before you do that, I want to address a couple of these comments from the mayor real quick. He said
Cool.
WWE doing the extreme WWE BS, breaking up the Hurt Business. They said, Black History Month is long over. That's true. That is true. They did do that. Right. All right, go ahead, Sith, because then we'll get into Hector's comment about what he felt was the top two in this bottom of the barrel as well. So,
Cool.
What do you got?
I'll give you Riddle versus Sheamus, which, looking back on it, I actually somewhat enjoyed. Oh, Lord. Orton's promo with Alexa Bliss. Not only the promo, but the match involving New Day, AJ Styles, almost. So it also bleeds into Xavier Woods versus AJ Styles. The breakup of the Hurt Business. And Lashley versus Shelton Benjamin.
Well, let me just go ahead and get this out of the way right now. Let me just
Try!
Her Business breaking up.
Try!
That's it. Ain't shit else to say about that. That was one of the best factions you had in WWE. I mean, and you break them up. like literally without much warning, I should say. I shouldn't say without warning, period. Without much warning, right? And I think it was absolutely just the stupidest move ever. Even Batista went on social media and said that was stupid. He was like, that was so stupid. Because that the Hurt Business still has something that they could bring to Monday Night Raw, even without the championships. I mean, they showed that before they won championships, before, like when Lashley won the U.S. title and Benjamin and said we're chasing tag team gold, and then this I mean, they still had plenty to offer, and then you basically just pulled the rug out and said, yeah, no, no, gone. Then you're basically about to send Shelton back to fucking catering, and fucking says about to go back to fucking main event and catering, or maybe 205 Live, who knows. But bad move breaking up the Hurt Business at this stage of the game. It was bad move. They were still at a high, and you basically just ended it. So that's bad move. My top two, Riddle Sheamus. I enjoyed that match so fucking much, and I got a feeling that their WrestleMania match is gonna be even better because it's a pay-per-view match, so it's gonna be a lot better. I like the fact that Sheamus is got this viciousness to him that he continues to have. I love it. Riddle, they're really playing up on this whole him being a stupid bro, and I really hate it, but it is what it is. The fact that he flubbed his fucking lines, it was like, I don't remember what I was going to say, and then just stepped off. But the fact that they're going to play off of that is just like crazy to me. But that's neither here nor there. The match itself was absolutely enjoyable for what it was as a TV match. So I think that their match at WrestleMania for the U.S. title is going to be a lot better because of the fact it's going to be a pay-per-view match. So there you go. And secondly, I got to say, Woods and Styles, the whole game night thing was a bit cheesy, but I get what they were trying to do with it. The match itself was awesome. I mean, and I shouldn't be surprised by that because Woods is a phenomenal wrestler, and we all know what AJ can do. I mean, that shouldn't be an issue. That shouldn't be the first thing from anybody's mind to think that AJ Styles can have a bad match. But I think what stood out the most from this, though, was Almas getting even more physical than he normally does. And what also stood out to me was the fact that AJ Styles actually worked the match. Almost did a couple moves and almost was sweating like he had been in the ring for 20 minutes. That concerns the hell out of me. That's very concerning. That he was sweating profusely after performing a couple of moves in the ring, and he was sweating more than AJ, who was actually in there working an actual match. That's good. He still may not be ready to be in an actual match. I'm very concerned about that. But all that aside, they had a great match. They had a great time. And I think that, along with what Drew did with Ricochet and with Mustafa Ali, this was an okay Raw. This is an okay episode of Raw. They did what they could. Again, luckily this wasn't a go home show. The go show's coming up this Monday. If this was a go home show, I'd be a lot more disappointed. But again, when you have an event like WrestleMania, where you're finally gonna have fans in the stands, you want to put your best foot forward. This wasn't a foot forward. This was just a foot that stood in place, but it didn't go backwards. So I think that's a victory in my eyes. They didn't go backwards, so that's a victory. Hector says that he didn't like the fact that the Hurt Business was broken up, but he did like Drew McIntyre's match, and in the aftermath, he did like Sheamus versus Riddle. And he gave an honorable mention to Styles versus Woods. So there you go. Love it. Right. So let's talk about Dark Elevation. So I made the joke last week, and I'm going to continue that joke, is that AEW felt that we didn't have enough wrestling to talk about on this fucking podcast. So they decided they're going to give us more wrestling and give us another a 2-hour YouTube show. Dark Elevation. Cool. Thanks. Thanks, TK. We really appreciate that. Anyway. So, Dark Elevation, Sid, what do you got for us in terms of Dark Elevation there, sir?
Okay. The good Dark Lord watched Dark Elevation and has the following things for Champ to break down, possibly. A Champ.
Yes.
Frankie Kazarian versus Danny Limelight.
Mm-hmm.
Legit Layla Hirsch versus Vipress.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Mike Seidel versus Scorpio Sky, our main event this week.
Mm-hmm.
Private Party versus Bear Country.
Mm-hmm.
And Kylan King versus Ryo Mizunami. Champ, the floor is yours.
Kaz versus Danny Limelight #1. I mean, people don't people don't seem to understand the type of talent that Danny Limelight is. I understand it because not only have I been watching him with AEW Dark, but also his work in New Japan. He is part of Team Filthy, and he is just an absolute dynamite in the ring as both a heel and as a face. He just has the same demeanor, but it seems to work on both spectrums and stuff like that. So it really works for him. It's really awesome. And then when you look at Frankie Kazarian, I mean, the man, this resume speaks for himself and what he's done. And you put those two in the ring, and it was absolutely amazing to watch how well that they worked together and how well that match came off. The second one had to be Kylan King and Ryo Mizunami. The shenanigans aside, even with the shenanigans, it still was a fun match to watch, especially when you have two women like the caliber of Mizunami, and then of course Kylan, who's tall and really can put in the work. So I really enjoyed that one. The one part that I wasn't that much of a fan of, I believe I wasn't a fan of the what were the other three? I feel like there's two of them that's yelling at me right now. No,
All
okay,
right.
I got it. Layla Hirsch and Vipress. I wasn't that big of a fan of because it was mostly Layla Hirsch. It was mostly a showcase of Layla Hirsch, which isn't bad because I said last year on this podcast, don't sleep on Layla Hirsch, and look at her. The fuck. But I really want her to be in more. I really want Layla Hirsch to be in more competitive matches because she's that good. She is that fucking good, dude. That she needs to be in more competitive matches, not in damn near squash matches with someone named Vipress. Like, come on now. She's much better than that. She needs to be in a program with an established AEW women's competitor and just really show her wares, in my opinion.
Is Randy
So,
says, come on, man.
just say I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. That's what I think about that. All right, here we go. Here's what I got for you there, Seth. You had Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor in action ahead of their Arcade Anarchy match. You had 5 women's matches on the card, including Kylan King versus Ryo Mizunami, as well as you had the brawl between Bear Country and Jurassic Express, which happened because Bear Country was distracted by Mark Stunt trying to make a save. It led to them brawling after they lost a Private Party. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page are a team. And finally, the Dark Order were in action, and they were victorious, 5-10. What do you got?
I have to go first and foremost with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky becoming a tag team. I like this. For those who did not get a chance to see Ethan Page in Impact Wrestling as a part of the North with Josh Alexander, you missed out on some really fucking good tag team wrestling, and you're going to see that work with Scorpio Sky. So Sith likes that alive. Hmm. I enjoyed Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy versus JD Drake and Ryan Nemeth. This was a solid opening match. Great way to open up Dark Elevation this week. It was fast paced, really well done, and it helped build up Chuck and Orange for their Arcade Mayhem match on Dynamite. And it's honestly what you wanted to see. I'd have to say the women's division matches because too many of them were either squashes or close to squashes. I had this saying about Dark and Dynamite. I mean, Dark and Dark Elevation that I have with Champ and Donnie and other people that are close to me. It should be about quality, not quantity. And with Dark Elevation, there was a lot of quantity, but the quality was down because of the quantity. And that's a bad thing. If you're going to promote a show, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on TV, you have to have quality matches. I'm not saying that every match has to be quality, but when you have 5 women's matches and only one really stands out as a solid match, that's a problem. Especially when you're trying to say that Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker was not a one-hit wonder. Well, when 3 of your matches out of 5 aren't really all that impressive, it makes you scratch your head a bit. Champ?
Yeah. Like I said, as I said in my breakdown, they need to put Layla Hirsch in more competitive matches with more established members of the AEW women's roster, and not have her, or even if you're going to put her against folks who are not necessarily a part of the roster, make those matches competitive, make her work for it so that she can show how good she is as a wrestler. I still will not sleep on Layla Hirsch. I still think Layla Hirsch is going to break out in 2021 and beyond. But it's going to be hard for her to do so if she's continuing to be in these very short 5-minute, it's all about her matches. I need her to be more competitive. I need her to have more, much more to that. Let's stick with Dark. Let's talk about Dark proper on Tuesday night. Let's move into Tuesday night. Let's talk about Dark proper. And Sith, these are the 5 I have for you. The Dark Order gets one out of 2 on the night. They did win in a 6-man tag, but unfortunately, Alex Reynolds fell to Max Caster in what was a fun match, which we finally got to see the return of Anthony Bowens. Looks like he's coming back from his knee injury pretty soon. The 6-woman tag match involving Kylan King, Big Swole, and Red Velvet. The new look corporate Michael Nakazawa with the headset and the lacquer and all that, and the laptop and that kind of stuff. Miro basically dominating the tag match with Kip not even getting tagged into the match to even begin with. And finally, is there dissension in Team Taz after it looked like Ricky Starks was going to win with the Rochambeau, but then Cage tagged himself in, hit the drill call, got the win, and it seemed like there was dissension? Those are your 5. Dark Order goes 1-1. The 6-man tag, Kylan King, Red Velvet, and Big Swole. Corporate Nakazawa. Miro dominates the tag match with Kip not even being involved in the match. And dissension in Team Taz. Go for it.
Well, let's have a little fun here. Alex Reynolds versus Max Caster. I've told y'all time and again, keep your eye on Max Caster. I've told y'all this. The diss track was gold per usual, but this was a fun, exciting main event. And the distractions help protect Alex Reynolds. So for people that are me, they're Dark Order marks who are upset that don't worry about it. Alex is not hurt by this. I have to say the other high point for me was probably Swole King, Big Swole, Kylan King, Red Velvet versus Ashley Fox, uh, Delmy, EXO, and Vertivixen. This was a decent six-woman tag that not only told a good story but represented the women's division as well as their developmental talent. And I even enjoyed Che Cargill coming out for some smoke with just more of a build between her and Red Velvet. That was nice. Um, this is a reach, and I mean a major reach here. But corporate Nakazawa, that ain't it, Chief. No. This was a step down from what was the previous match was the six-woman tag. This was a major step down in quality. It's already getting to Nakazawa being a heel, and I'm over here thinking, I'm not buying it yet. I might in time, but it just doesn't rub off on me yet.
Yeah. I will say, back to the point you made earlier before we get my 5 bits. The point you made earlier with Caster's freestyle, it was gold until he fucked up the end,
Yep.
and then it was just like, damn. Which is fucking crazy because he's a very good rapper. He's a legit rapper, but damn, he absolutely flubbed that. He absolutely flubbed that. All right, what are your bits for me? Also, I will say, well, go ahead with your bits, and then I'll go back and break stuff down, and then we'll move on to Impact.
Angelica versus Sunny Kiss.
Angelico, yes. Okay.
Angelica gets a shout out from the dark side tonight. Um, Natty Rekonkowski versus Jasmine Allure. Yeah, Miro basically dominated the tag team match against Baron Black and John Skyler. Team Taz, the slow burn with them breaking up is against Chandler Hopkins, Jake St. Patrick, and Sage Scott. Jurassic Express versus Adam Priest and KC Navarro. And Colt Boom Boom Cabano, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson. The Dark Order versus Bill Collier, D3, and Barry Morales.
I gotta go with the Dark Order first and foremost because join the Dark Order. No, but this was a very entertaining matchup because you have so many different personalities here. Of course, you got Evil Uno, who's got that swagger about him. You have intense Stu Grayson, and you got jokester Colt Cabana. And so, I mean, what else can you say about that match? It was very entertaining. And not to flex. I don't mean to flex on y'all, but I'm going to flex anyway. I actually got to play some Among Us with Colt Cabana on the Switch channel last Sunday, which was awesome. It was a lot of fun, and I wasn't an imposter once, which kind of sucked because I wanted to be imposter and like really show my skills, but I didn't get that chance, unfortunately. Hopefully, I'll get another chance somewhere down the line. That'd be cool. But anyway, just I didn't mean to flex on you, but I had to real quick. But that's the one. The other one had to have been, I mean, Miro's domination because we're starting to finally see where they're going to take Miro, the character of Miro. He is just going to be this absolute killing machine, and he's just going to dominate and just run through people. The fact that Kip Sabian spent most of that tag match, which wasn't long. The tag match wasn't long at all, but he spent that time talking with Penelope like they were just having a conversation about what they're going to have for dinner later. Was just absolutely the best storytelling you could ask for. Kip sit up there just like, hey, this, that, and the third. Miro's in there just beating everybody's ass. And it was just so awesome to watch. I'm not even going to hold you. It was great. I enjoyed it so much. I don't know if I'm a fan. This is another situation So my down bit is going to be the Team Taz thing, because I don't like the fact that you're going to potentially break up another good faction, but at the same time I can kind of understand it, because right now you have the Pinnacle, you have the Inner Circle, you have the Nightmare Family. So you have the Dark Order, you have the Death Triangle, you have now the Hardy Family Office (HFO). So you got a lot of stables, and this one stable, Team Taz, seems to be disconnected from a lot of what's going on in terms of major storylines. But I'm still not a fan of it being broken up. If anything, especially if Hook is training to be a wrestler and becomes a full-time wrestler, you could probably do without Cage and then have a feud with Cage, but I still wouldn't get rid of Team Taz at all. I think Team Taz would be good with Ricky, with Powerhouse Hobbs, and with Hook. They're young, they're hungry, and they're cocky. And I think that that's what you need from Team Taz, is that cocky, don't give a crap attitude. And I just don't know if Cage really in that light. I just don't see. Given the fact that his run in Impact towards the end, he was a babyface. He was a sympathetic babyface at that. So I guess I don't want to see Team Taz break up, but I do want to see maybe some kind of adjustment in terms of the team. Maybe Cage doesn't fit. Maybe it should be Hook and Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks with Taz. Maybe it's just those three. Maybe. That's just my opinion on it. But that's it for at least the AEW Dark series. Again, we will be including Elevation as well as regular Dark in our weekly recap. So, if you can fit it into your schedule, like I said, we basically fit it in because we're trying to present as much of the wrestling recaps as we can, because it's a lot of wrestling to take in. So there you go. So let's talk about Impact, the one show that Damaris says we're doing the Lord's work in terms of recapping this. So, Seth, let's start with you. What's your 5 bits for me from Impact this past week? Impact was fun.
Let's see here. Do. Sammy Callahan versus Larry D. The main event, James Storm versus Eric Young. Fire and Flavor versus Havoc and Nevaeh, including the post-match issues. Brian Myers versus Suicide. And Ace Austin, Madman Fulton versus TJP, Josh Alexander.
Let's see. Main event definitely is number one. Because you had the story of this was James Storm's 1,000th match in Impact. 1,000 matches in one promotion. Even given the fact that yes, he did do a spell. He did one match in WWE NXT. He was also part of NWA. He was their national champion. He was their tag champion. But everybody knows James Storm is synonymous with TNA/Impact. And he got to have his 1,000 match against another original and Eric Young. And the fact that he had his current tag team partner in Chris Sabin, as well as his old tag team partner, fucking Wildcat Chris Harris, man. Fucking Chris Harris showing up. He let himself go. I'm sorry to say. I don't mean to be that guy, but yeah, he let himself go. But we already knew that from the Braden Walker debacle he had. But we're not going to talk about that. But fucking Wildcat Chris Harris, man. Showing up for his 1,000th match and being at ringside. That was fucking lit, dude. That's number one. Number two. This was going to be a downer for me. But I can't make it a downer because of how this came about. and that's Havoc and Nevaeh against Fire and Flavor, with them losing, and then Nevaeh turning on Havoc, saying that she's the weak link because they swerved us. This whole time, Nevaeh was making it seem like she was weak. And Havoc was trying to tell her, no, you're not weak. You're not weak. I want you to be my partner. And then it turns out Nevaeh snaps on Havoc and says, Havoc is weak. By the way, we're going to raid Jessica Havoc after this stream on Twitch. If you're watching on Twitch, I'm just saying, because she's awesome. She has an awesome Twitch channel, and it's really cool. So we're gonna raid her after this. So just if you're watching on Twitch, make sure you stay put there. If you're not watching on Twitch, get on Twitch and watch so you can join the raid. Just saying. But yeah, I wanted to make this one the down part of the show, but just the fact that this is how the story progressed and it made this kind of turn. This was so good. I wasn't expecting this. I was thinking, okay, they're cool. And this Nevaeh just goes off on Havoc. I loved it. Down would have to be the Brian Myers match. Only because I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I didn't. Nothing. It was not a bad match. It's just something that just didn't really stand out to me. And so, yeah. And then, I wasn't surprised, him being the heel, the cocky heel that he is, not accepting Matt Cardona's challenge. Not surprising. It is what it is. Eventually, we're going to get that match. I'm sure we're going to get that match. The Major Brothers are going to face each other, and it's going to be awesome. And I can't wait. All right, Seth, here you go. Here are your 5. We're going right through these. We're almost to Wednesday. And then we're going to be on the NXT UK report and then SmackDown, and we're out of here. It's still probably going to be a little over 2 hours, but this is what we do. Right. Impact, 5 bits, 2 out of 3 falls. James Storm's 1,000th match against Eric Young. Nevaeh turning on Havoc after their loss to the tag team champions, the knockout tag team champions. Sami Callihan wanting the team with Trey against Triple XL. Ace and Madman Fulton against TJP and Josh Alexander. And Brian Myers declining Matt Cardona's challenge to a wrestling match.
Have to go with the main event. First and foremost, James Storm 1,000 match at Impact Wrestling. That is an amazing feat for 1,000 matches in one promotion. A lot of people don't understand the magnitude of that. But Eric Young does, James Storm does, Chris Sabian does, as does, Chris Harris, who, it was just great to see him reunite. That was just great. This was, like Champ, this was going to be my down, but it ended up being an up. Nevaeh turning on Havoc. It was so Shakespearean-like. And I'm not shocked by the result, but I do like that it was a well-crafted heel turn. And Brian Myers was trash. It was. It's the only thing I didn't like about Impact this week. I liked Impact all the way through, except for that one part.
And Hector has chimed in, said that he saw Impact live and said that he didn't like Callahan versus Larry D. I don't think anybody really did. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. And then of course Storm versus Young, and as well as a sort of reunion of America's Most Wanted, and Alexander TJP versus Fulton and Austin were his top 2. So yeah. I would never have positive things to say about TJP being a COVID denier. I just can't. But that's just me.
No.
Anyway.
TJP is now, if he wasn't a consistent wrestler, I would put him into the bag of people that we don't name here.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite and Wednesday night's edition of Dynamite, which was taped. It included the main event, a match known as Arcade Anarchy, which saw nothing but anarchy, violence, and the return of two previously injured stars in the match, which very exciting. And I saw a result that I kind of did see coming, but didn't see it coming the way that it did. So let's talk about Dynamite. So Sith, let's start off with you here. Here are your 5 bits. Christian's first singles match in 7 years, where he went almost 20 minutes with Frankie Kazarian. First match back in 7 years, almost 20 minutes with Frankie Kazarian. QT Marshall turning on the Nightmare Family, along with Aaron Solo, Anthony Ogogo, and Nick Comoroto. The very brutal and bloody return of the Inner Circle to get after the Pinnacle. The Arcade Anarchy match, which was the main event of the show. And finally, the Bunny and the Beast, Ali and Nyla Rose against the Women's World Champion Shida and Ty Conti.
Man. All 5 segments I liked. Son of a bitch. Okay. The main event's number 1, Arcade Anarchy. It was a fun main event. It was very creative, very inventive. Really enjoyed it. Trent came back in a very cool way. And Chris Statlander, who Champ and I were like, oh man, can't wait for her to come back. Well, guess what? We got our wish. The alien is back. All in all, it was entertaining as hell. Definitely the main event we needed to see. Ayo, fam. This is tough. I'm literally here flipping a coin in my head here. Big time. But I have to go with QT Marshall turning on the Nightmare Family, along with Nick Comoroto, Anthony Ogogo, and Aaron Solo. Oh, man. That was just wild. You could see the plants to this happening during the match. And there were hints that QT was ready to snap and get it done. And it was just well executed. Not only in the match itself, but post-match with all the melees and the heat and the heel turns. So, we're good with that. Runner-up, honorable mention definitely is Christian Cage. Coming back to the ring for the first time in 7 years. Most Def. Solid debut. And these are 2 guys that go back 13 years. In their friendship as well as their knowledge of working together. So that's definitely an honorable mention. The bad thing? Oh, fuck. It's hard to pick something bad out of this. This is nitpicking, but Pinnacle Inner Circle, but it's nitpicking. You're literally telling me to choose between 2 solid bits as to what I didn't like. And I think it was a slightly faster burn than what I was ready for with these 2 factions. So they need to kind of like slow it down just a tad. Just a tad. Other than that, it's just awesome. Whoa.
Okay.
Damn.
Fair enough.
Okay. Let me get you going here.
Yep.
Okay. Ray Phoenix, Penta and Laredo Kid versus Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, her promo. Arcade Anarchy. We have Arcade Anarchy, ladies and gentlemen, as a choice. Christian Cage versus Frankie Kazarian. And QT Marshall's heel turn.
All right, Arcade Anarchy's number one. It was the perfect main event. Just nothing but violence and just destruction, and then having the games there and everything. You really fit. AEW really does a great job when it comes to gimmick matches. Like, they really put their all into making sure the gimmick matches really fit what it's supposed to be. They rarely fall short in that, so I will give them that. And then you had Chris Statlander's return. Like, she came out of nowhere. Like, it looked like Kip and Miro were done, and then Penelope comes out to try to stop it, pulls out the referee. Then all of a sudden, here's Chris Statlander. Like you said when we talked about it, we were wondering when she was gonna be back, and not only did she come back, but she puts fucking Penelope through a air hockey table, right? But then it's not over yet, because then up the ramp, here comes Sue with Trent, and it's like, yo, this is lit. And then the best friends win. The best friends hug. They give the people what they want. And then Statlander gets in there and they give the people what they want. Number two got to Christian and Cass, just because of the fact that, again, Christian has not been in a ring in a one-on-one match in over 7 fucking years. And man, 7 years, over 7 years, and he went almost 20 minutes with someone who's been wrestling in and out, who's been wrestling week in and week out for the last year plus. And they went 20 minutes. And it was fantastic. Fantastic. If I had to nitpick and pick something that was not very good, I would have to say Britt's promo. It wasn't bad, but she could have did better. I think she could have did a lot better. And whatnot. I just feel like she could have did a lot better with it. It wasn't bad, but she's done a lot better. And, given the fact that, again, she should have played off the fact that, hey, I may have lost in that match, but guess what? It doesn't count against me because it was unsanctioned, so I'm still the role model, whatever, right? So that's why I kind of felt that she should have went that route and said, she may have won the match, but it doesn't count in the rankings. I'm still better than her, da-da-da-da. That's just me. But that's just nitpicking, though, because it still wasn't a bad promo, in my opinion. It wasn't a bad promo. Hector does put Christian versus Cass on high praise, and he actually says that he prefers Chris Statlander as a blonde. Is that sad? No. I prefer her as a blonde, too. Not even gonna lie. I prefer her as a blonde, too. But she's awesome, and I'm glad to see Statlander back, though, because she was really getting on a roll and really finding herself in the women's division. She was starting to strengthen the women's division. Then she suffers the ACL tear, and it's like it just derailed it, and things like that. But luckily, in her absence, a lot of other women have stepped up, been signed, and have been able to bring the women's division to where it is now. So hopefully, with her being re-entered into the division, that she doesn't get lost in the shuffle and miss out on what is a division that's starting to finally start to see some growth and see the potential for it to be a lot better than what it has been. Right? So, there you go. All right. We're almost done with Wednesday. We still got NXT to talk about. Still to come, we have our NXT UK report from the basement, including how did Pretty Deadly do in their first title defense as the NXT UK Tag Champions, as well as other action from that night. So we'll talk about that, and then of course we'll talk about SmackDown and see how what happened there, which was some good stuff. Let's talk about NXT. All right, Seth, what do you got for me with NXT? NXT was pretty good Wednesday night.
Oh,
Actually.
NXT was fun. Um, I think we're gonna go with you first and foremost, straight to the moon. Cameron Grimes versus Roderick Strong. Not only the promo that Santo Escobar had, but his match against Tyler Breeze. The Ways promo backstage. I'll give you the Way versus Gigi Dolan and Zada Raymer. The main event Battle Royale Gauntlet Eliminator. Um, hmm. Let me think here for a second. Oh, both Walter and Tommaso Ciampa's promos. Both of them.
So Strong and Grimes was at the top of the list for me. This was a great way to open the show. I didn't think that, not only because the fact that Grimes came in there, he's on his money shit, talking about he wanted to market the whole Grimes system and all that other shit. It was very Cameron Grimes is probably one of the most entertaining characters in NXT right now, and with this money gimmick, I think it's so much. It's really, really gold. No pun intended, to be honest with you. And the match itself was solid. It was very solid, but you could tell they're going with this whole thing where Roddy is just lost because before all he's known for the last couple of years is UE. After he was basically just out there, now he had a family. He had the UE. Now he doesn't have that, and just he got reminded of the UE in that match, but it cost him the match. And so that he took himself out of the Eliminator Battle Royal, Gauntlet Eliminator Battle Royal. And so I want to see where this goes when it comes to Roddy Strong's character. I want to see where this goes. But I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed all the shenanigans with Grimes. And I wasn't mad that he won. Because, again, it gives us a chance to see how Roddy can grow from this. So, there you go. And the Battle Royal itself was very entertaining. Because, again, in the fear that I had when it comes to the Gauntlet Eliminator at Stand and Deliver is so many crossing storylines. And you had that here, but they didn't really cross a lot. I mean, you had Swerve Scott and Leon Ruff getting in it before the match even started. And then, of course, you had Kushida and Pete Dunne eliminate each other. You had the clever elimination where Loomis went over the top rope, but LA Knight was able to go through and take Loomis off the apron and then get back in the ring to get the victory, showing that intelligence that he has. But all in all, the match itself was very entertaining for what it was, and just giving us the look and what we can expect when it comes to those 6 men that are going to be part of that Eliminator Gauntlet that's coming up on night 1 of Stand and Deliver. The Ways showcase match was my down point because it really didn't convince me that they're a viable threat for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, that they beat two women who are still relatively unknown when it comes to the NXT universe. Had they beat a team that was known and got the victory, then I'd be like, okay, I think they're credible enough that they could challenge for the championships. But you beat 2 women who we barely even know. That doesn't tell me that you're going to be able to challenge and successfully take the championships from TCB, which is why I picked TCB in the first place. So yeah, that was my downer for me. That was my downer. For you, Sith, we'll start with Roddy versus Cameron Grimes. Raquel Gonzalez versus Zoe Stark. The tease with the little puppy for the debut of Frankie. the North American title gauntlet eliminator qualifying battle royal, and the Santos Escobar Open Challenge. What do you got? And you're muted. And you're still muted.
Oh, there we go. My bad.
There we go.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Um, we're going straight to the moon. First and foremost, Cameron Grimes, Roderick Strong, as champ. And here's the irony of the whole situation. Okay, Bobby Fish is still out on injury. He's on the shelf right now. I want to see where we go with Roderick Strong here. The match was good, really good storytelling. But I want to see what we do with Roderick Strong because he really didn't find his way in NXT until that moment in 2018, Takeover New Orleans, which was WrestleMania weekend, where he turned on Pete Dunne and joined the Undisputed Era. This is going to be amazing to watch. Damn. I'd have to say number 2 is Santos Escobar versus Tyler Breeze. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Tyler Breeze, when he was on the main roster with Fandango, they were horribly mistreated. They were basically relegated to just fashion files at one point. They really weren't able to showcase their talents. Well, here you go. The Cruiserweight division is about to open up big time because now with, travel opening up restrictions wise because of the global pandemic, now the Cruiserweight division is going to be represented on NXT, NXT UK 205, spotlighting all these really good wrestlers. So it gives us a nice example of what's going to happen. Just wait. That's all I'm going to tell y'all. Damn. Another case where I'm nitpicking here. And I hate to say this, but Raquel Gonzalez versus Zoe Stark, it was better than the tag team matchup between the Wade and Gigi Dolan, Zadia Raymer. And yes, it did solidify that Raquel Gonzalez could very well beat Io Shirai this week. And it had her look extremely strong. Hello, WWE main roster. Hello, AEW. Are you seeing this? It's just a case of what I enjoyed the least because I enjoyed NXT overall, except for one thing, which was the way versus Gigi Dolan and Zayed Raymer.
Right. Okay.
But I thought the Way's promo was funny as hell, though. Gargano whining that, I'm not going to know until 24 hours prior. Austin Theory not thinking, oh, I did this in your Poke of Doom.
Not only that, but also he gets eliminated, but has his feet up and doesn't think that maybe get somewhere we can keep his feet up and get back in the ring. Doesn't nip up and gets eliminated. It's like, dude, all right, cool. Like, cool story, bro. Anyway. But NXT was fun. Wednesday night was fun overall. I mean, what else can we say about Wednesday nights? It's going to be sad when it's all over when NXT, after Stand and Deliver, moves to Tuesdays. So then you're going to have wrestling every night of the week during the week with Raw as well as Dark Elevation on Mondays. Tuesday nights with NXT and AEW Dark. Wednesdays with and you have AEW Dark and NXT. You have AEW Dynamite on Wednesdays. Thursdays you have Impact and NXT UK, and Fridays you have SmackDown. And then, of course, whatever given week you may have a pay-per-view or something like that, or an Impact special when it's Impact on a Saturday or a Sunday. That's a lot. Speaking of a lot, let's talk about this week overseas, because it is now time for your NXT UK report from the basement. Sith, what is on tap this week?
Okay, we had a very intriguing main event where Pretty Deadly had their first title defense of the NXT UK Tag Team Championships against Mayor Jordan Kenny Williams. How did that turn out? You'll find out right here. There's some chaos going on in the NXT UK women's division. You'll find out. And a very intriguing sit down between Rampage Brown and Walter. What happened there? Well, find out right here on the NXT UK report, right here, right now. Hello, friends, and welcome to your NXT UK report for this week. We had Athie Valkyrie versus Stevie Turner, who was debuting this week in NXT UK, and Stevie Turner looked impressive in her debut, and she promised a four-dimensional way style of fighting. However, at the end of the day, Athie Valkyrie gets the W via the roundhouse kick and the leg drop off the top rope. A-Kid is going to be watching Noam Dar and Tyler Bate next week during their Heritage Cup match, because the winner becomes the number one contender for A-Kid's Heritage Cup title. We had Josh Morrell taking on Tio Man this week, which was a solid match, but at the end of the day, Morrell tapped out to the crossface as Tio Man wins again. We had a sit-down promo between Rampage Brown and Walter, and it's absolutely what you would come to expect. There's no love lost between these two gentlemen, and next week is going to be a chaotic slobber knocker. Kaylee Ray decided to come down to the ring and said she wanted more competition, and Millie McKenzie showed up out of nowhere. She stepped up, but before they could get their shit off together, Ela Dawn blindsided and attacked Millie from behind, and Miko Satomura came in for the save. And next week at NXT Prelude, we're getting Ela Dawn and Kaylee Ray versus Miko Satomura and Millie McKenzie. And in our main event, we had Pretty Deadly versus Amir Jordan and Kenny Williams for Pretty Deadly's first defense of the NXT UK Tag Team Championships. This was a solid match between these two, but however, the tension between Kenny Williams trying to cut corners and Amir Jordan trying to play it straight came to a head when Kenny was trying to get Amir to use the NXT UK tag titles on Pretty Deadly as a weapon, and Amir didn't follow through. Kenny smashed one across the back of Amir Jordan and walked out, so Pretty Deadly wins with the spilled milk finisher and retains. And that is your NXT UK report for this week.
All right, thank you, Seth, for that report for this week. Yeah. So I think we all saw that coming with Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan. I think we saw that coming, correct?
Yeah, we did. I saw it live on Peacock, and I thought, well, it was well timed at least. You know, they played it out really well. I'll give them that, but it was so obvious what was going to happen because in the last couple of matches, Kenny, as you know, tried to use heel type tactics, and Amir's like, no, we don't do this.
Yeah, we saw this coming a mile away. It was bound to happen. Kenny's been teasing, and then finally it happened. Hector, I had to go off camera because I had to go ask my son what he wanted for dinner. So I decided to just do solo layout with Sith and not me, so that way it's just not an empty chair sitting here. So yeah, that's why I disappeared. Nothing else. All right. But yeah, we knew that was coming. Athie Valkyrie, she's eventually going to have to get a shot at the championship. Like, let's not kid ourselves here. She's going to eventually have to get a shot at the championship. She's undefeated. Like, the girl hasn't lost. Like, she's got to get a shot eventually, right? Like, am I bugging here, Seth?
You ain't bugging. She's got to get a shot.
Okay. See,
And right now, you know me, I'm a betting man. Where when it comes to poker and blackjack, but I would actually want to see this match. I just don't know if Aphie Valkyrie is the one that eventually defeats Kaylee Ray.
yeah, and I think that is the key thing here is that I don't think she'll be the one to beat KLR, but I think she needs to have a shot at it. Maybe they might surprise us and it is her, but maybe who knows? But she needs to get that shot. Um, and then it was good to see the young lady. They said, what was her name? Mackenzie.
Mm-hmm.
They said she's been gone for a while. You want to
Yeah,
talk about that?
yeah. Millie McKenzie had been gone for 2 years. I barely remembered her. So when she showed up Thursday, I'm like, where'd you come from? You know,
Right.
because she was barely promoted 2 years ago. You have to go back once they come in, which is going to take time. I would have to say August. You have to go deep into the archive to find her matches. That's how barely promoted she was. So this was just one that they just pulled out of their hat.
Okay, one last question before we move on to SmackDown. Millie McKenzie's been gone for almost 2 years. You say she was barely promoted. Is she a viable candidate for KLR and that women's championship?
I'd rather say Aphie Valkyrie first instead of Millie McKenzie.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
There,
enough. Because I was gonna say, Millie McKenzie's been gone for 2 years. How she get to come in and say, "I want a title shot"?
that's my big problem because with Mako Satomura, it's different because Mako, she had all these years of wrestling under her belt consistently. Millie dropped off the map, I think, for injury or something, and is just coming back and saying, "I want a title shot." No, you're not Edge. It does not work that way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Okay. All right. Let's talk about smacking it down and this
Making it
week.
down.
And here's the funny thing. At least on my end, my boss Roman didn't say much as he normally does, except for getting put in the yes lock. Other than that, he didn't really do much, which is strange because normally he does stuff to stand out. So, all right. So here are your bits real quick. First, Logan Paul's appearance with Sami Zayn. The return of the rated R superstar, not old man happy go lucky Edge. The rated R superstar is here. The main event street fight between main event Jey Uso and Daniel Bryan. The 8-man tag match that is a preview of the upcoming Fatal 4-Way for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. And finally, Bianca Belair versus Carmella.
Welcome back to the Rated R Superstar. Whoa. It's been ages since we've seen him like this. And the way Edge delivers, and not as Old Man Edge, which is kind of like Old Man Logan from the X-Men, little comic book reference there. No, this is the Rated R Superstar type Edge from like the mid to late 2000s. Okay? Where you wouldn't know that most of WWE's promos are scripted. It's scripted, but Edge's delivery was just so solid the entire night. I love seeing the opportunists come back. Let me remind y'all of something really important here. I don't mind 10-minute opening promos when silently delivered, point blank, period, end of fucking story. Okay? So people are going to call in the comments, crying me about being a hypocrite. No. No. Can someone tell me who Logan Paul is? Because up until a couple of weeks ago, I had no idea who this guy was. But I do admit that his appearance was actually pretty cool. Because I get that he's getting a slight little build to show up at WrestleMania, which is fine. Because WrestleMania is this big event. You get all these entertainers there. It's a big deal. Um, but I wonder, is he going to eat a stunner at WrestleMania? I got to ask that to the people in the chat if y'all think that he's going to get a stoner. A stunner. But yeah, the trailer was good. Having Logan Paul was there, and KO at the end was just fun. I enjoyed it. Okay, I enjoyed it. The 8-man tag was what I enjoyed the least, but it was still a good match. Champ knows where I'm going with this. It's what I liked the least of the 5 segments he gave me. And the honorable mention's the main event. The main event was wild, but the problem is that I enjoyed Logan Paul being with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens so much, and I enjoyed Edge coming back the way he did. I couldn't put the main event up there as much as I enjoyed it. Hey, Champ, I'm going to give you your 5 when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, cool. The 33-second match between Natalya and Shayna Baszler, Sami Zayn's whole red carpet promo, including Logan Paul, including Kevin Owens, the main event, which was the street fight between Main Event Jay and Daniel Bryan, the return of the Rated R Superstar, not Old Man Edge, but the Rated R Superstar, and Paul Heyman backstage doing the legality thing with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville.
Rated R Superstar is back. That's number one because that's the Edge that we all grew to really love to hate when he was at the peak of his heel run. So it's great to see that back, the psychotic Rated R Superstar type of deal. I like it. And the main event, which was the street fight, was also great because not only did you get a lot of violence, but you also got Daniel Bryan going after both Edge and Roman to be like, look, y'all both think I don't deserve to be here. How about I beat both your asses to show you that I deserve to be here, right? So there you go. Natty's match was absolutely the pits. Like, because you're like, fam, one half of the women's tag team champions got pinned off a weird ass counter reversal to a roll up out of nowhere. Like they were literally having a conversation with Nia at ringside at commentary, and next thing you know, before Corey Graves can get his question out, Shayna gets pinned. And then all of a sudden, all the women who may be involved in the tag team title match at WrestleMania come out, and it's just all this. It's just a big mess. It was just a big mess. And it was just too much to deal with, too much to try to subscribe to and to digest. So therefore,
Trash!
Yeah, trash. I can't do it. Let's see. Hector says bottom of the barrel tie. It's a tie between the Sami Zayn trailer presentation and the 33-second squash match. By the way, rest in peace to the weekly WTF moments from Cultaholic. Yeah, no, I hate that. I hate that that's gone. And the top 2 was Bryan versus Uso street fight, as well as the 8-man tag was his number 2, which is interesting. All right. But SmackDown was solid again this week. Hopefully they can keep things going next week with the go-home shows for Raw and for SmackDown. Okay, so let's see what we do next week. Because again, next week is a critical. You have the go-home shows, Raw and SmackDown for WrestleMania. You have Stand and Deliver for 2 nights. You have the Hall of Fame. You have NXT UK Prelude, which also includes an NXT UK Championship match between Volter and Rampage Brown. So you got a lot going on. And then, of course, you have WrestleMania, which, of course, we will be live reacting to WrestleMania both nights, Saturday and Sunday, exclusively on Twitch. So make sure you're following us on Twitch, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, to check that out and watch it with us. as we will be checking out WrestleMania. Should be fun. Should be great. Should be a good time as
Ayo,
always.
champ, I forgot to ask you something earlier.
Which is
Rampage Brown Walter, who you got?
Walter.
Yep, same.
Walter. Walter. Easily. Walter.
Walter.
All right, it's time for our final thoughts segment where we again give our final thoughts, wrestling related or otherwise, as well as plug what we got coming up outside of this podcast. So, Sith, go ahead and kick us off.
All right, final thoughts. Okay, so as of us doing this live stream on Saturday night, we are officially 7 days away from night one of WrestleMania. Now, the good news is that in a lot of areas, we've got some really, really good matches lined up for WrestleMania, both nights 1 and 2. But honestly, there's some issues here big time that need to be addressed because with creative, yet again, creative's missing it here. Break up the Hurt Business, Nia Jackson, Shayna Baszler are a couple of bullies, and Matt Riddle's honestly trash on promos. All right, so let me get this straight. You make damn sure that Drew gets his WrestleMania moment by breaking up a faction 13 nights out. Your U.S. champion is solid in the ring, but now is an idiot in promos. And the women's tag team titles are a goddamn prop for bullies to be champions on screen. And you tend to wonder why Raw's ratings are still well below what they should be without any major competition on Monday nights on cable or broadcast TV. And SmackDown is still considered to be the A show here on the pod, and NXT the B show here on the pod. It's painful as hell with some of the decisions that are being made. Nothing against Drew McIntyre. Solid wrestler. He's one of the main reasons why WWE has succeeded during the pandemic era, but so is the Hurt Business, though. Riddle was awesome in NXT, but honestly, he's just a shell of what he was in NXT. And Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are being used as a pair of bullies on screen. And this is after a storyline a few years ago. Nia Jax herself was being bullied by Alexa Bliss. Y'all remember that shit? Look, WWE Creative needs to get their fucking shit together and fast. They tend to wonder why long-term fans like myself back on the product weekly on Raw, and they don't bother to analyze and say, wait a minute, maybe we're looking at this the wrong way. With no direct cable or TV broadcasting wrestling competition between 8 and 11 on Monday night, and there's no Monday Night Football until August, the show should be getting well over 2 million viewers weekly. But the last time it happened was Legends Night, then bloop, it went back down again. And why, as Chris Jericho would say, stupid ideas from bad creative. Stop whining that people are critical over Raw, like I am, that go after Impact, SmackDown, AEW, NXT UK, and NXT if they have bad things as well, and calling us marks. Creative needs to do better, Tizall, and in order for that to happen, the big powers that be really need to start taking a serious look at things and be ready for actual change. Not just a Band-Aid and a Legends Night, and that's my final thought. Tomorrow, this Sunday, Basement. Part 3 of the top 100 80s films you have to see before you die. We also have Song of the Day Q&A and an 80s movie assignment. Champ, I yield the floor.
All right, mine's before I give my final thoughts. Shout out to my guy Jimma, who's watching us on YouTube right now. It is Mania time already. Jesus Christ, I cannot believe Mania is here already. It'll be here next week, and again, we will preview it next Saturday on the pod. We will have live reactions on Twitch, and then we will recap it the following week before we take a week off before the start of season 3. So just keep an eye out on our Facebook page for all the latest updates. My final thought is non-wrestling related. And it has to do with a rapper of my youth who is currently in hospital fighting for his life. That rapper is none other than Earl Simmons, better known to folks as DMX. He was rushed to the hospital Friday night after having a heart attack from a reported drug overdose. Last I checked, he was on life support. They had very little brain activity, and they said his condition was grave. A recent report came out just a couple of hours ago that said that he's off life support and is breathing on his own, but he still has very little brain function. I bring this up to say this. Addiction is hard. Addiction is very hard. It's something hard to get rid of. It's something hard to kick. Right now, DMX sits in a hospital bed dealing with a demon that he can't seem to shake. There's someone out there right now who has a demon on their shoulder that they keep saying, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to stop it. But that demon's still on their shoulder, yelling in their ear that it's going to keep going. And it's tough. So I say to anyone out there who has some kind of demon that they're battling, whether it be a substance, whether it be some kind of addiction, whether it's a substance addiction, whether it's a shopping addiction, whether it's a gambling addiction, whether it's a sexual addiction, whatever addiction that you're fighting and you're dealing with, I believe you can beat it. I believe that you can overcome it. And I believe that that addiction will lose its grip on you and you will leave it in the dust. But you have to be willing to put in the work to keep it from taking its claws and just taking its pound of flesh from you each time. You got to be able to look at yourself and say, I'm not going to allow this to overtake me anymore. I'm not going to allow myself to lose money over whatever addiction that has its hold on me. Right now, DMX sits in a hospital bed. He may make it, he may not make it. Hopefully he does make it so that he understands that this addiction has almost cost him his life. And it's time to really put it in the rearview mirror forever. There are others out there who have the same addictions, who don't have the same luck as him, where they OD and they don't make it. And their families are left wondering what could have been, what they could have done to try to help them. There are people who have gambling addictions, who are in debt up to their eyeballs because they can't pay back those debts because they've spent all their money trying to recoup. They can recoup and they don't. And then they end up homeless. And then shit just goes downhill. Whatever addiction you have, you can beat it. You just have to believe in yourself. But there are people who do believe in you. But it starts with you. And it starts within you. If you don't believe within here that you can beat it, you never will. So start to believe here. And you can beat it. And that's my final thought for the day. You will find me this coming Monday. Last week I said we was doing Sports on the Podcast, completely forgetting that they were off on Monday. But the new season 6 premieres this Monday, and of course I will be a part of it with the roundtable. We will be talking about the Wizards, who have had a very, very tough stretch recently. They're currently playing the Mavericks tonight, Saturday, without Bradley Beal for the 4th straight game, and without Rui Hachimura, who has an injury as well. Russell Westbrook has had 4 straight triple-doubles, looking for 5 in a row, but they haven't been putting up wins. They've been looking very, very lackluster. So we're going to talk about that this coming Monday, as well as there's going to be a look ahead to the opening day of the Nats, which their opening series was postponed due to a small outbreak of COVID-19 amongst the team. So there's gonna be talk about that and other stuff this coming Monday night, 9 p.m. Sports on the Hill podcast. You know where to find it on Facebook, Sports on the Hill podcast. So make sure you check that out. That's all we got for you for this week. Well, Sith, we did 2.5 hours. How about that?
Hey, good shit.
Good shit. Indeed.
I hope everyone stays safe. Enjoy the weekend wrestling. Holy shit. There's a lot this week.
Indeed. It's a lot. We have a very, very busy week with all things happening with wrestling and Wrestlemania. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you're in tune with us with that. Again, we won't be doing the live reactions um, for Takeover, but we will recap it next Saturday, and we will be doing live reactions for the WrestleMania both nights, Saturday and Sunday, and they will be exclusively on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod. So make sure you're checking. You make sure you're following us there. We are on the road to becoming an affiliate, and we will add more content to that channel once we become an affiliate, including some a little bit of PC gaming and some other stuff. So make sure you follow us on there. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a blast. I can't wait for that moment when we get there. But for those who are currently watching us on Twitch, we are getting ready to rate Jessica Havoc, who is Impact professional wrestler. We're gonna give her some love, show her some love, and everything like that. So make sure that you can come on our Twitch channel and join the raid with Havoc. Should be a good time. Otherwise, for everybody else watching on YouTube and on Facebook, we will catch you guys next week for the recap of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, as well as a preview of the 2 nights of WrestleMania. Take care and good night.